What's up YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night randamie versus Lad. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Benito Lopez versus Vince Morales. And to me, these guys are the same. They're both well-rounded. They got striking, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. Primarily striker jiu-jitsu. But I'm just leaning towards Benito. I just think he's the better prospect. Like I said, I think this fight will be pretty fun back and forth everywhere. But like I said, I just think Benito is the better prospect, so I'm leaning towards him. Next we got Louis, can't say, I think it's like Pianu versus Jonathan Martinez, and I think striking-wise, Martinez is definitely better, but I think Louis has got a much better ground game, and I don't think there's a huge advantage for Martinez on the feet, but I do think there's a huge advantage for Louis on the ground, and that's what I think is going to happen. He likes getting it to the ground, he's good at getting it to the ground, he trains the alpha male. I think that sooner or later he's going to drag Martinez to the ground, and when he does, I think he's either going to control it or win by submission. And that's just what I see happening. I think Louis gets either a late second, early third submission, or he just gets a decision from the top control. Next is Livia Souza versus, I can't say this chick's first name, Van Buren. And Van Buren looks like she's good. She's a solid prospect, but I think Souza's just better. I think that striking-wise, it's pretty close, but on the ground, Souza's got a big advantage, just kind of like the last fight. I know Souza didn't look amazing in her last fight, but the chick she fought missed weight by like 10 or 15 pounds, and she looked like she was like a foot taller than her. You know what I mean? It was kind of bullshit that she had to fight that chick. You know, props to her for taking that fight, and she won it. She probably should have lost, but like I said, when you're fighting a chick who misses weight by that much, it's hard to look good. So yeah, I think Souza is going to be fighting someone closer to her size, and I think we're going to see her dominate like how she has in almost every fight of her career, and I think she's going to win by either first or second round submission. Next, we got Darren Elkins versus Ryan Hall, and I know Ryan Hall has some pretty nasty submissions here and there, but they're mostly heel hooks. I feel like striking-wise, Darren Elkins is way better, and I also feel like we've seen Ryan Hall lose on The Ultimate Fighter. I think guys that are good wrestlers with decent submission defense can kind of just control him from the top, and I think Darren Elkins also has really good ground and pound. He doesn't have great power, but he can throw a fuck ton of strikes. And I think that's what's going to help him in this fight. Ryan Hall is not the greatest striker. He basically just throws strikes to get it to the ground. And I think Darren Elkins has the overall advantage there. I think that his top game is good enough to where he can avoid the heel hooks, and I think he can either grind out a decision or get a late TKO. So I got Darren Elkins winning by decision. Next we got Juliana Pena versus Nico Montana, and Nico Montana has good striking, good takedown defense, but she's not the greatest once she's flat on her back. I feel like Juliana Pena, you know, Nico moving up in weight, she's going to be fighting a chick who's way bigger than her. Unless Pena has gotten way shittier from the time that she's been off. I know she doesn't fight very consistently, and that's kind of the biggest heel of her whole career, is that she probably should have fought for a belt at this point in time, but she's had injuries that knock her out for like a year or two at a time. If Pena can just consistently fight and looks the same as she did, you know, even in that loss to Shevchenko, she looked good. If she can put on the same type of fight like she did in that one, she should win this fight pretty easily. I think she's going to win all 3 rounds. I think that striking-wise, like I said, Nico's a little bit better, but sorry guys, I don't know if you can hear it, but I've had a sore throat for like the last couple days, so sorry if I cough a lot. I think Pena's going to ride out a decision with her good wrestling. I don't know if she'll get a submission, but I do think she'll win every round at least. Next, we got Andre Fili versus Shaman Moraes, and this is tough because I think Shaman Moraes is the overall better striker, but his conditioning has always been something that kind of fucks him over a little bit. I think he throws a lot of power into everything, and that kind of tires him out a little bit come towards the end of the fight, and he tends to kind of give up the 3rd round because of it. But like I said, I do think he's the better striker overall. I think his takedown defense is really good, so he shouldn't have to worry about getting taken down. And Andre Fili doesn't really go for that many takedowns anyway, which is really weird because he actually has good wrestling, but he just doesn't use it very often. It's tough because, like I said, I think this is going to be one of those fights where it comes down to that 2nd round. Whoever wins that round is probably going to win this fight. And I'm leaning towards Shaman. I do think he's the overall better striker, and I think he's just going to slightly edge out this fight, like he has in pretty much most of his UFC fights, where he fights great strikers and just slightly edges it out. Next is Mike Rodriguez versus John Allen, and these guys are both good strikers, but I just think Mike Rodriguez is the much better striker. John Allen's probably is a little bit younger, a little closer to his prime, but I just think Mike's got the better striking overall and the better power. And I think, like I said, his overall technique is better. So I'm leaning towards Mike. I think he's probably going to win by knockout in the first or second round. Next, we got Martin Vettori versus Cesar Ferreira. And Martin Vettori is good everywhere, but I don't think he's super amazing. I think that he's primarily like a boxer wrestler. His conditioning is definitely better than Cesar's, but I do think Cesar's overall the better fighter. And this is another fight where I think it's going to come down to like that second round. Whoever wins that's probably going to win the fight. And I'm leaning slightly towards Cesar. I think his wrestling is a little bit better. And I also think his ability to control fights when he's on the top is a little bit better. So I think it'll be a 29-28 decision win for Cesar. Next we got Carl Robinson versus Wellington Turman. You know, Wellington's a really good fighter. He's well-rounded. He's got good striking, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling. He's never been finished. He's 15-2. He looks like a solid up-and-comer. I just think Carl Robinson at middleweight has looked pretty close to unfucking beatable. His losses are at 205. You know what I mean? Like, he's a little undersized at 205, and he kind of pays for it because those guys are big enough to just force the fights to the ground, and then he can't get up. But all the fights he's had at middleweight, he's looked amazing because that's where he's fighting guys closer to his size, and they can't just force the takedowns on him. I think that his striking's super good. I think he should be able to outpoint this guy for 3 rounds and maybe even catch him. I don't know if he'll knock him out. Like I said, Wellington's got a lot of experience. He's never been knocked out, but I do think Carl Robinson will stuff all the takedowns, keep it on the feet, and edge out every round and win a 30-27 decision. Next, we got Josh Emmett versus Mirsad Bektic, and this is a weird fight just because Josh Emmett, in my opinion, looked kind of shitty in his last fight. I feel like he basically just caught Michael Johnson with one big punch towards the end. I mean, Michael Johnson was just dominating that whole fight up until that one moment. You know, Mirsad Bektic, he's looked really good in his last couple of fights. I feel like since that loss to Darren Elkins, he's looked better and better. And this is just a pacing thing. I think if Mirsad Bektic can just pace himself for 3 rounds, I think he's the better overall fighter. I think his striking technique and wrestling technique are both better than Emmett's. I just think Emmett has better conditioning and better one-punch knockout power. So it's kind of just, he just needs to kind of pace himself, and I think Bektic can win this. And vice versa for Emmett. Emmett just needs to really push the pace on this dude and fucking go after him the whole fight. And I think if he does that, he'll win, but I'm leaning towards Mirsad. Like I said, I think that he's the better prospect, and I think as long as he paces himself, I think he should be able to edge out all 3 rounds, and I've got Mirsad winning a 30-27 decision. Next, we got Uriah Faber versus Ricky Simon, and this is entirely whether Uriah Faber still looks good or not. You know, I do think the time off is always good, especially if you were slowing down a little bit like Uriah was. You know, spend some time away, heal up, see if he can still do it in like a year or two. And that's what he's doing. He's coming back, coming out of retirement. I do feel like this is a fight that he should absolutely win. Because, like, even when he left the UFC, I felt like he was probably better than a guy like Ricky Simon. It's not like Ricky Simon's bad, but it's just I feel like Uriah Faber is on a much higher level than him. Like, even at the lowest points of his career, I feel like he's at a higher level than Ricky Simon. But this is what we're going to see. I mean, it has been a year or two, and he is getting older. So I don't know what he's going to look like coming into this fight. But if he looks at all like he did when he was even remotely close to his prime, he should win this fight easily. I don't know if he'll get a finish, but I do think he should be able to outpace and outpoint Ricky Simon for 3 rounds and get a decision. So I got Uriah Faber winning by decision or maybe late submission. Finally, we got Jermaine Randamie versus Aspen Ladd, and this is 100% depends on whether or not Aspen Ladd can get it to the ground. If she can, I think she's going to dominate this fight because she's got great control and nasty ground and pound from the top, but I think Jermaine is just way better of a striker. It's tough because Jermaine, you know, she's been winning these fights, but I felt like she lost to Holly, and I feel like she's riding really high off of that win that she really shouldn't have. You know, she did win her last fight against, I can't remember her name, so I do feel like she's a legit top 5, and we've seen her takedown defense has gotten a lot better. So she is a top 5 chick in my opinion. I just think she's ranked like number 1 or 2, and she shouldn't. She should be ranked like 5 at the best. You know, with Aspen, we've seen her looking better and better, and like I said, her biggest strength is her top game ground and pound. And it all depends on if she can get it there. It's tough, but I'm leaning slightly towards Aspen. I feel like all she really needs is one good takedown, and that could probably be the end of the fight. You know, it's tough because Jermaine's takedown defenses look so good, and she's definitely the much better striker, so I could see Jermaine just keeping on the feet and outpointing her for 5 rounds. But I don't know, like I said, I just feel like Aspen's tenacity and the way that she'll just keep coming at her, I feel like she will eventually get to the ground, and when she does, I think she's going to win by ground and pound. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.